everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today we're going to be working on our dually again. The time has come to start working on the inside of the truck. There's not a ton of stuff to do in here, but enough. Starting in the back here, we're going to do some modifications to the rear seat. And we've got a lot of guck on the back window here to clean up from old decals and stuff. And this door needs a new internal wiring harness. In the front, we're going to take the seats and the armrest out. This seat needs to be taken apart and the foam repaired. It's a common issue with these. Luckily, it hasn't gotten to the point yet where it's starting to destroy the leather. And once we've got all the seats and everything out, the actual seat frame, they paint it with crappy porous paint and it's starting to rust. So we're going to clean that all up and give it a nice coat of semi-gloss paint. And in the dash here, I've got it apart right now because I was running some wires and stuff. We've got a couple of gauges to put in, some switches. I'm going to start in the back by getting all this stuff out. It's pretty straightforward. The seats are just bolted in. They just bolt out. That all came out pretty easy. Lucky for us, the truck is really nice and clean. And these bolts, like look at them. You couldn't ask for nicer bolts than that. They just came right out. So the base of the seat is bolted to the floor here, and then the backs of them just kind of hang over these little hooks. There's a popular mod that guys like to do. They shim these up a little bit, and that allows you to, at kind of a certain point of the articulation of the seat, you can pull this out, and it sort of folds forward, but not really all the way forward. I think. I don't think it folds completely flat. Well, maybe it does. The only thing I'm not sure about is it now your tab is not holding on as much as it normally would, and I'm not quite sure how that would perform in a collision. So we're not going to do that mod. Next, we take the buddy seat out. At the back here, there's two studs on each side that stick down. You got to get out. And at the front on each side, there's one stud. They all take 8mm nuts, so you need a 13mm wrench. And there's the wire harness is clipped into the bottom of it, so you just use a pair of needle nose pliers and pop these out. And there's two plugs that actually go into it. That one and that one. Look at the mess under here. 20 years. I knew I could smell smoke in here. And a vintage McDonald's French fry. You could probably still eat it. I guarantee you, if I threw that out in my driveway right now, in 5 seconds, 1,000 seagulls would come out of nowhere and start fighting over it. Now we can get the seats out. I want to separate them from the tracks. So, on each side, there's a stud up underneath there. I'm going to push the seat all the way forward so I can get at those two front studs, and then we'll put it all the way back to get at the back studs. So we got the front undone. Now we'll run the seat all the way back and undo the two studs at the back. Getting the front seats out is simple enough. There's 4 studs underneath. And if you have power seats, you got to undo this plug. And if you've got heated seats, you've got to undo these 2 plugs. And out it comes. You can see here the seat foam in this seat is still in good shape. Our driver's seat is not going to look the same. Now we got the left seat out, and you can see up over in here how the foam is starting to degrade and collapse. That's what's causing this problem here. So we'll take it apart, and this foam is not completely disintegrated, so it can be augmented and saved. It won't be a problem. Now we'll remove these rear mats, and we can get at the bolts and get the seat frames out of the truck. How easily these things come out will be directly related to how much salt your rig has seen in its life. This one isn't too bad. I've seen them a lot worse where you can't even discern the bolt heads, you know. They've been spraying the heck out of this truck underneath for its whole life, but the salt on the shoes still gets at stuff like this, and even it's just kind of floating around in the atmosphere, you know. But we'll give them a pop and see if they come out. All good. They're just standard 10mm body bolts, so when we put it back together, we'll definitely replace these with some out of our spare parts bin. And once we've got this done, we just flip it upside down, and we just have to undo. This is the last. This is the main power plug that comes up from the floor that powers the seats and the console and everything. It's probably gonna. There's a lot of locks on this thing. There's a lock on the side. There's a lock on there. We'll figure it out. Now we can start doing some work. And one of the first things we have to do is we're underneath the passenger side rear seat. And you can see all the holes here from various compressors that they've had mounted in there over the years. So we're just going to use these plastic push fasteners to plug these holes. And then once I've got the row of them plugged, we'll just put a piece of foil tape over it to make sure it stays sealed. Now the next little job here, you'll see these things are sticking up through the carpet here. So we'll just get the old side snipper here and snip off the bits that are sticking through. Now, here's our next little interesting job. This here is the original air line that goes from the compressor that used to be here. The other end of it is up under the dash there. It travels under the carpet. So I need a line going up into the dash to run my main air pressure gauge. So what we're going to do here, this is a little piece of tube that they had put through the floor to run the power wire for the compressor. So we're just going to snip these two things, connect them together with a 90-degree elbow, and then we can connect to the other side of this under the truck and go back to a T at the air tank. That will get us our air line up into the dash. There we go. That worked out perfectly. Here's the bottom side of our line that goes to the gauge. The other end of it, I put a T on the inlet port of the tank. I guess I could have pulled this right out and put a grommet in it, but heck, it's okay. It's not like it's going in and out or anything. It'll last a good long time. Deb gave the inside a quickie vacuum, and just so when I'm in here working, I'm not grinding all the junk into the carpet. And wow, let me tell you, did it ever come out nice? Those mats were obviously on top of this carpet since the truck was new. The carpet is perfect. There's no salt stains in the rug or nothing, so that's really good. And then once I'm done with my work in here, we'll give it a nice shampoo, and it should be good. We got these things cleaned up, and Deb gave them a couple of coats of semi-gloss black rust paint, and they look darn good. These parts up here, they're way up underneath the seat. They were never treated with anything from new. You don't see it, so I'm not too worried about that. But these parts you do see. And we'll also get the bolts all cleaned up and give them a coat of black paint too. Except for those two buggers from the driver's seat that I showed you before. They're going in the garbage, and we'll put two new ones in. Something else we have to do is we need a source for all our auxiliary circuits. And the easiest thing to do is just put an auxiliary fuse box in it. So here's one that I've got. It's all stainless steel. It's marine. I made up this little bracket. We're going to hang it off the steering column. There's not a lot of places under the dash of these trucks to... whoops! How'd you like your ride there? Sorry about that. There's not a lot of places under the dash of these trucks to hang something like this, especially when it's got a clutch pedal and power pedals to boot. So that's what we came up with as a nice place, an accessible place to put this. It's got a little cover that goes over it. And we'll bring in a feed from the engine compartment straight from the battery with a circuit breaker. So this is protected. Another thing we have to deal with when we're in here is the left front seat belt. Now this has the famous problem that only 02 and 03 trucks have. Every time you get in it, this buckle is all the way down at the floor. So what happened, you could see the mark where it was right there. See on this back seat belt, they have that little button. It's crimped in there to keep the buckles from sliding down. Well, they kept breaking and proved problematic. So they changed this, instead of the little button, to just a single loop of seatbelt material sewn on there. And that held that thing. So anyway, we were just going to fix this up with a snap, you know. But then I got poking around, and the edge of this is starting to fray. And it's all hardened up and stiff. So what I did, I've gone ahead. These seatbelts are discontinued too, by the way. I found one on eBay, new old stock. So I've ordered it. I bought it. We're waiting for it to show up. It will be the new style with the loop on it, but I really don't care. The old ones actually supersede up to that one. So it is what it is. We'll have one with a loop. Don't matter. This here is the bezel for our center stack. And this little guy goes into there. Where if you had a regular cab, here you'd have a key switch to turn off the passenger side airbag. So this guy kind of sits right around there. So we have to run wires up there. That'll be the on-off switch for the compressor. And this will be our air line that comes in to sense the main air pressure. The end of the line, or is that line that comes from the back of the truck? Yeah, it's in there somewhere. We'll find it. Oh, here it is here. Here's the line here that comes from under the back seat where we were mucking around yesterday. So we just have to get a joiner, make it longer so it comes out up here, and put a fitting on the back of the gauge, and that's done. We also need to get at least 3 switches in. We need switches for the tow lights under the back bumper, the lights on the headache rack, and the light plug for the beacon on the headache rack. So we'll have to figure out places to put those. There's a blank spot up there where the sunroof switch would have been. Obviously, we don't have a sunroof. So I may put the 2 switches for the headache rack lights up there, because being up there, you'd sort of associate them with the headache rack, right? And here, there's a couple of blank spots there on that panel also where we could mount a switch. So we'll figure that out kind of once we get going. But that's basically, aside from clean, that's basically the scope of our interior repairs. And of course, we've got to deal with this. But that will be, like I said, when it's time for the airbag to get changed. That's right in there, the passenger side airbag. They have to replace the actuator on it. So when I'm ready to do that, I'll get all this old dash and everything out, and we'll drive it up. We'll make an appointment, drive it up to the dealership, and it'll just be all empty except for that thing just sitting right there, so they don't have to fight with it too much. I've also got this mess on this pillar to deal with. It's got this pyro gauge that sits in this pillar pod here. I guess for now it can stay there because we've got it. But I'm not sure. I've seen some little pods that sit here on top of the steering column. I'm not sure how they obstruct your gauges or not. I may experiment with that. I'm just not. These pillar pods, the pillars in these trucks are fat enough as it is when you're trying to make a left-hand turn. Between that and all that over there, you got to be really careful making a left-hand turn that you don't run somebody over in a crosswalk. But anyway, we'll see how that all goes. And I've got this here. It's for a dash cam, I guess. There was a dash cam in the glove box when I got it, so I guess that's what it's for. But I don't know where it goes down to, what it's attached to. We'll have to do a little detective work there. Other stuff we're going to do inside. This is an 03. It does not have rear seat headrests. They started that in 05. So I found these. These are from an 05. They match our front ones. And I've got the actual seat carcasses that have the receivers for these. So we're going to take our covers off of our seats and put them on those seats. And then we'll have the rear seat headrest. And I'm also going to see about swapping out this steel corrugated cargo floor, the fold-out cargo floor, for a smooth carpeted one from a 2005 truck. The dogs, it'll be a lot easier on their little feet than this. Another thing we're going to goof around with, man, that sun shines in there. That's better. I'm not a big, huge audiophile guy. An AM radio and one speaker in the dash is good enough for me. I'll find something to listen to. But this works. CD, cassette, AM, FM, it works. But I also have a factory navigation radio, an RB1 nav radio. So we're going to maybe try that in here. We'll see what happens. I'm also keen. I'd love to have a backup camera, but we'll see about that. And the satellite radio built in. I just don't want 1,000 things all stuck on the dash all over the place, right? The other alternative is an aftermarket. Like, you can buy a nice aftermarket radio with the satellite radio built in, with the backup camera built in, with navigation built in, and it's kind of an all-in-one unit, just like I have in my 4th gen. The only problem with them is they're a double DIN or a double face radio, whereas my factory one is a 1.5. So you have to cut a chunk out of your dash, like your dash structure, and you replace this piece with an aftermarket one. And I'd lose my my wood grain, and that's part of Laramie. I like my wood grain, but anyway, we'll figure that out when we get to it. Like a lot of the other stuff we're going to be doing. So at least we've got, a rough plan. There's nothing more fun than making it up as you go. Anyway, in the next video, we're actually going to get some work done instead of just me sitting here talking about the work I'm going to do. Hope you'll come back at that time to see what we're actually doing. And until then, this is Kevin saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage.